Hi, this is Andrew with GoodSpace High Performance Builders. We're starting off a video series about a new project we're doing. It's Sacramento's certified passive house, and we'll be showing you videos from the start of the job all the way through. So this video is the first one, and we want to learn about what is passive house, or teach you about passive house. So we have the architect here, Bronwyn Barry, Passive House BB, and she's going to teach us a bit about her journey to passive house, and we'll learn more about it.
Thank you. Great to be here.
So yeah, go ahead.
No, where do we want to start?
Well, tell us about, I understand you specialize in passive house, so tell us how that came about.
Sure. So for me, I was first interested in green building right at the start of my practice. It was kind of something I really wanted to incorporate into all my projects, and did a lot of the early green building training. One of the first certified green building professional trainings in the Bay Area back in the early 2000s, and just kept exploring what that actually meant. And one day, one of our presenters at this sort of Green Remodelers Guild that I was part of came and talked about a house that he was remodeling in Berkeley that was using this passive house thing. And, the light bulb went off for me, and I said, okay, this was kind of like repeatable. There was a way to measure it. There was some tools that you could use to actually make sure the projects actually achieved these outcomes, and you could learn about how to do it. So I was like, bingo, that hit all the buttons for me, and really got me excited about it. So
great. Well, we're excited to be working with you on it, with all your experience. GoodSpace is newer to passive house. We've been certified for a few years now. There's a total of 5 of our team members have gone through the certification. We also kind of went through the journey, but a bit later, and learned about green building and all the benefits there, as well as experiencing some of the smoke events and meeting a lot of people with indoor or allergies, even inside their house. So that's kind of our journey there. So what are the benefits of passive house?
So there are multiple benefits, Andrew, and it's really been interesting as I've built more of these projects to learn from the clients who actually live in them, what they found beneficial. But the essential ones are really great indoor air quality, reduction in allergies. I had one client who literally didn't need to use his inhaler anymore. He was asthmatic.
So good.
Really important. They found that they're also really quiet, and that sort of acoustic comfort is something that they've been surprised at how beneficial that is. And then, through our wildfire seasons, we've also found the smoke tightness of passive house is a superpower that we really are just starting to really recognize and speak about in really relatable terms.
Yeah, that's really big now. I mean, it's very challenging when you can't get away from the smoke, so that one's nice.
Yeah.
And then another side one with the kind of cleanliness and quietness is the bugs, right? So.
Yes, and a lot less bugs and a lot less dust. I think as women we kind of appreciate less maintenance. I'm sure men appreciate that too, of course. But a lower dust and allergens particularly. But then there's just a lot more, the indoor air quality stuff. We really haven't done enough data capture about that, and I think there's going to be a lot more science on that.
I agree.
As there are more projects.
Because we've been paying attention to outdoor air quality, and now there's realization, right? We're spending over 90% of our time indoors, and that's the air we're breathing. So okay, so passive house is better on a lot of levels. What's the difference between building conventionally and building passive house?
So in California, that's a very different animal than it is in a lot of other parts of the country, and where historically passive house has sort of evolved from a European context. But in California, it really means specifically sometimes a bit more insulation, not always, just depending on what part of California you're building in. Definitely the smoke tightness. You know, Passive House really is meticulous about that, keeping the outdoors out and the indoors in, and does that with the airtight control, which is where the smoke tightness benefit comes from. And then a ventilation system that has heat recovery or energy recovery. So those are the key features. And then again, windows can be, you know, triple pane in some climates, but double are fine in other parts of California. So those are the key differences and places that you'll see Passive House really perform better at.
Yeah, and I think the ventilation system is key for people to pick up on too, like you were mentioning, that it runs constantly, so you're always getting that fresh outdoor air, and it's filtered as well, so getting a clean supply of air.
Actually, one other thing I didn't mention that we also are a lot more meticulous about in Passive House is the thermal bridge free detailing, which, you know, I've come to appreciate. You know, we all as architects think that we don't design big thermal bridges, but you know, there's ones that you don't really realize you're designing until you actually have to have them checked. And it's surprising. I've learned quite a lot about having those details reviewed and analyzed in a thermal bridge modeling. So it's a constant learning process, and you know, that's also a mold reduction, you know, condensation reduction. You're just building a better building, and you get it, you know, really have to be a lot more meticulous about that.
Yeah, it's amazing all the good things that happen when you build Passive House, when you bring up the mold and the humidity, and everything is managed so much better. So okay, well, thanks for watching this. I'm glad you got a little introduction to what Passive House is, and you better learn more about it as you watch the journey as we build this house. Thank you, Bronwyn, for that introduction.
Thank you.